Okay. Okay, so good evening everyone. Welcome to this sharing session. It will be a short sharing session about how Apple Pay and Google Pay works. So, so here's the agenda for today. So first we'll be discovering how Apple Pay works and then how Google Pay works, their comparisons, and then what are the security concerns for both parties. Okay, first Apple Pay. So we can see here this is a uh, the entire flow of how Apple Pay works. So we will go through one by one. Okay. So first, like always, user need to enter their credit card information, which is what we call the primary account number (PAN), and other personal information such as the addresses, telephone number, etc. And then this information will send to the Apple server, and then Apple server will send this information from user to the bank, and then bank will request something called payment token from the token service provider (TSP). So if you guys not sure what is token service provider is a party that uh will send back a how to say a payment token that is requested by bank. So Apple server will send the information to bank will request this payment token from the TSP, and then TSP uh give back will return back the payment token and the payment token key. So bank and then will transfer this payment token and CVV to Apple Pay server. And then this Apple Pay server will transfer this all these three type of data to a form of string called device account number (DAN). And this DAN it will store it inside. There's a chip inside the Apple devices called a secure element. So I will explain about what is secure element on the later slides. And then when making transaction, instead of uh, instead of send telling user to type in their account information again, it will send this DAN to the e-commerce server, and then this e-commerce server will send this. Oops, yeah, this is the DAN. If you guys use Apple Pay. And fun fact about DAN actually is unique for each devices. And even if you fill up the same credit card at the different device, it will still be unique for two devices. Yeah. Okay. And then the fourth process here is when making transaction, Apple devices will send out this DAN to the e-commerce server, and then e-commerce server will send this DAN to the bank to process the payment. Yeah. And then another fun fact is Apple does not store any kind of information at your devices and their server. So all the information will be just for requesting and returning data. And then what they stored is only this device account number, the DAN, inside the secure element. And what Apple does is the they invent their protocol to store this kind of uh, device account number inside the secure element. So it's quite unique in the market. So after explaining the whole process, so what is secure element? The most unique part inside these Apple devices. Okay, so secure element that is inside these Apple devices, which is we can see at this Apple device, we can see there's NFC and secure element chip together at the logic board, and secure element actually, oops, it cover the text. So secure element actually is a microprocessor chips that is used to store sensitive information. So this secure element can comes in three types of way to store sensitive data. The first way would be the smart SD. the smart micro SD card. So uh, if you've done a bit of research, so there's a company called Smart SD that invent a SD card that inside has the embedded secure element chip. So if your phone don't have the secure element chip inside the logic board, you can just purchase this micro SD card, put it in your phone, and it can be used to store sensitive information, no matter it's contact number or credit card information. So you can store it inside. And then the other form of secure element is using the programmable SIM card. Uh, so the how to say, the SIM card that we use nowadays cannot be programmed. So only certain type of SIM cards that is able to program to use it as secure element. And then the third one obviously is used by Apple, which is embedded to the logic board itself. So if you can see the picture here, there is a green color rectangle. There is the NFC and secure element chip inside, soldered inside this board, on this board. Yeah, so this is secure element. So moving on, I'll be explaining how Google Pay works, and here's the entire flow. Okay, same thing. User will enter the primary account number and other information to these Android devices. And then Android device will send this uh, personal information to the Google server through an API call. And then this server actually return back a token, return a payment token to the phone. And then uh, this token will be used during transaction. And so user also no need to key in their information, but this token will be sent to Google server to search for the match payment token to this user's credit card information. So this sensitive data is actually stored inside Google server. And then when it found the information, then the Google server will send the credit card information to the bank, and then the bank will process the payment. Yeah, so we can see here the differences, which is uh, Apple doesn't store any personal or sensitive data inside the server, but Google server does. It store it. It uh, e-commerce server will send the payment token to the server, and then server will match it, and then the server will send the sensitive information to the bank. Yeah, so this is how the Google Pay flow uh, works. So moving on with the comparison between Apple Pay and Google Pay. Very straightforward. Uh, and disclaimer: this is not uh, how to say, this is not marketing at Apple Pay, but Apple Pay is quite secure in my personal view because it doesn't track transaction and it doesn't store data at your server, and then you don't need a processing fee when using Apple Pay. Same goes to Google Pay. You don't need processing fee, but it tracks your transaction. It said that it tracks your transaction just to giving you more personalized ads. And and the one thing I don't like is uh, it stores your data inside their server. Yeah. And moving on, the security concerns. So what are the security threats for both providers? So we start with Google Pay first. Yeah, like I said just now, it tracks your transaction. So it uses for personalized ads according to Google, and they said that it would not sell to third party. And then it stores your data on the server. So meaning if the Google server is compromised, it might pose security risks to you, to everyone else. And then Apple Pay. So actually, fun fact, when I researching about this topic, I actually can't come up with any security threats for Apple Pay because the uh the method that they use to store the uh data is actually quite unique and very secure. But I actually found out there's one interview actually said that although the chip itself is actually very secure, but is electrically exposed to the outside, meaning that it's vulnerable to physical attack and side channel attack. So imagine that, okay, so we now know the secure element is encrypted with a very, let's say it's a very high level encryption, but then the source of data itself and the connection, the actual data connection between the chip and the source of data is actually not protected. So we can think of an analogy like a tent, but with a vault door. So actually, attacker no need to break in, no need to use a lot of ways to break through the vault door. They just need to use a knife and then to cut through the side of the tent, then they can get in already. Same goes to secure element. So if they got your phone and they can use like a physical attack or like side channel attack to to actually grab your data. So meaning they no need to even break the connect, no need to break the encryption. Yeah, so that's I during my research that's the only I can uh I see someone addresses this issue for Apple Pay. So in overall, Apple Pay is quite secure. Um, yeah, and one more thing, there's one more Samsung Pay. Samsung Pay is actually using tokenization. Also, it's similar to payment token, but Samsung Samsung Pay does not store your information at their server. So only Google only Google Pay is storing the consumer's information, sensitive information inside their server. Yeah, so use Apple Pay. And yeah, here's the references. A bit long. Yep, that's all for my sharing. Thanks everyone.